Hello, everyone, and welcome to my show. This is the Courage to Freedom channel. I'm G, and welcome. This is the part where we're going to talk about the top 10 things that I did after I left the Jehovah's Witness organization and why. I'm going to dive into that. But before we dive into that information, I want you to do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my encouraging videos. Now, let's get into it. Studies have shown that after a relationship breakup, there are things you should and should not do. Why? Because it's always hard when a relationship breaks up. Some people, they can separate, they can go their separate ways without any hard or ill feelings or resentment toward the other person. But while others hold on with anger, resentment, retaliation, and a host of other busted and broken emotions. And this is normal, according to experts. In fact, according to experts, relationship breakups can make you do or act out of character. Now, here's the thing that I had to look at in my own life. Once I realized that there were signs of a problem in the relationship coming, I had to avoid doing anything that was faultless, things that would not help me to overcome my pain. So, with that, let's discover what to do, what to and not to do after a breakup or separation. Because after leaving the watchtower, that is a relationship that we've had. That is a breakup if you have left that organization. It's so easy to feel depressed, alone, especially after you discover so much information that you had not been told. So there are things that you can do that are self-destructive after the breakup because we are emotionally unbalanced. And one of the reasons for that is because of what we went through. So let's get into some of those things. Now, the first one, I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to go through why I did it this way. The first one was I had to reaffirm, so it is reaffirm why I left the organization. Then write it down. Why did I do this? Because I don't want to be like many people who go back when they forget why they left. See, for me, the reason was scriptural reasons. Jesus nor God left a visible organization in charge. And neither did they teach religion. That's a man-made religion. It's man-made. So God and Jesus never taught this, but they taught that we are to continue with faith, strong faith in them, not in religion. So, see, if you think about them, if you think about the term, if you think about the term visible organization, that's an earthly seen way of worship. And what did Jesus and God constantly talk about? Keep our eyes on the things unseen, not on the things seen. With a visible organization, it's easy for us to put faith in it instead of putting faith in God. Because we're putting faith in the things seen. So, then the other part that I had to think about was that we must follow God's Word, the Holy Scriptures. And if we do this for ourselves, that was the reason that I left, because I was not doing this for myself. All right, let's go to number 2. I had to ask myself, how did I get here? How did I get here? You see, in the organization, I had to do this for this reason. If you don't know how and where you got lost, or where you made the wrong turn, how are you going to get back? It's kind of like traveling. If you don't know when you got lost, you cannot get back on the right road. So if you was like me, if you were raised in the organization, or you was at a emotional low when someone kind of knocked on your door and said, "Hey, I'm here," it was easy to grab hold of them because you needed that comfort. So this is part of the closure. Um, you want to know how you got to that point so you can close the door. Number three, this was important to me. This is one of the first things that I did. Ask God for forgiveness for myself. And why was that important? Because I remember, as far as my part, I was one of those individuals. I was one of the individuals that did not speak to those who was disfellowship. I was one of the individuals who did not ask questions. I was one of the individuals who allowed the organization to use me to continue the immoral way of treating people. And treating someone with disrespect because they sin is totally immoral. And teaching them to stay away from your family and teaching family to stay away from them. Not to mention some of the other things that we are allowed to go on, such as homosexuality, the way they ran their organization. If you never speak up, then someone will always speak down to you. So, that was number three. Number four. This one may be a little harder for some people. It was for me. I'm just going to tell you. It was for me. Ask God to forgive them. Now, many have said, why would you do that and let them off the hook? No. To forgive someone is to set a person free. Then later, you discover the person you set free was yourself. You see, forgiving them is not excusing them for their wrong. It's just that I no longer want to hold on to the resentment of them. Because if I hold on to them, what's happening to me? I'm not allowing room for my emotions, for my heart, for my own mind to grow. Doesn't God forgive us? Nelson Mandela puts it this way, and I love the way he said it. He said, resentment is like drinking poison, and you hoping it will kill your enemy. And uh, with our way of life that we coming out of the organization, how many times we wanted to give that poison to someone who hurt us, but we don't. And another important point we got to remember is that how people treat you is their karma, and how you react is your karma. Because if you react in a negative and an unloving way, because they treated you that way, guess what's going to happen? Karma. And you know what they say, karma is a bitch. And so I also remember one of my mentors said that no one ever dies from a snake bite. It's the venom that kills you. You think about that. The organization we came out of, they bit. But if we continue to pour alcohol on that wound, if we continue to pour further venom and let that venom fester us inside, it would eat us up, and our whole emotional structure would perish, would die. Number 5, move or change your location and your phone number if at all possible. Why? Because you're changing your life. If you're making a change, you have to make a drastic change. Someone said you cannot sit. I think I wrote this down. Positive change begin when you stop doing the same thing you did the day before. So if you're sitting in that same position and you wanting something to change, it's not going to change because you're not changing it. You have to change your approach. If you don't want someone to call you, change that phone number. If you don't want to call someone, change that phone number. If you don't want anyone to bother you, move. You don't have to let anybody know anything. Number 6, this is a very important one. Rediscover and reconnect my relationship with God. Rediscover and reconnect my relationship with God. This was ultimately important for me because I knew God exists. But the way I was serving Him was my biggest problem. And with the way I was taught from the scriptures, from the organization, I allowed that information to carry me on and conclude that this was God's way. So reconnecting, you will find out that it's not God's way. By reconnecting, I was able to find out that the scriptures were rewritten by so many religions. Why do you think there are so many Bibles? You ever ask yourself that question? Why are there so many Bibles? By reconnecting, I discovered that. By reconnecting with my relationship with God, I now know what my spirituality is. It's not what I do. It's not going out in field service, going to the meetings, um, um, having a part at the meeting. It's not our action. It is a personal relationship with God, a personal connection. How is my prayer? Are my prayers personal? Are my prayers? Do I have a great relationship with God? Do I appreciate God's creation? Do I appreciate the spirit within me that He created? The marvelous things that He did? Do I appreciate my family, the gifts? Am I grateful to what God has given me? Gratitude. We're going to talk about that in another video as well. But gratitude. Why are these things so important? Because you have to figure out who you are. Without knowing who you are, how can you move on? I'm going to tell you a quick story of someone when you're coming out of the organization and you don't know, if you haven't rediscovered your connection with God, how can you know who you are? Someone said this to me many times. They said, how do you know that God really exists? And you look at all the evidence around you. I said, the story is, there is no story. Look at the heavens. Look at the earth. Look at your body. Do you know we are a spirit? We can only see approximately 10% of our body. Look in the mirror. What do you see? Who is looking through those eyes that we have? What do we see? We only see the physical makeup. It's the spirit of us that make our body go, that make our body perform. Our mental capacity. Why are we so bright and animals are not? Why is our central intelligence is so phenomenal, but animals are set to obey us? Why? Someone put that structure there. Someone structured the sun just set so far that we do not burn up. Someone structured the moon to perform like it does, to make the tides rise. Why and who did this? Rediscover, reconnect. You will be amazed at the fact of what you find out, not what you've been taught, but reading the Bible yourselves. Ask any question. Look it up in there. I'm going to tell you this much real quick, and then I will digress with this subject. But use what Bible really helped me was Bible verse, Bible Hub. I'm sorry, YouVerse and Bible Hub. Those two are great sources. You might know some others, but they was great sources to help me. I could easily research those, and I have those on my phone, so I can easily use those there. So, number 7. This is a key one. This one is huge. Rediscover who you are. Rediscover who you are. I'm going to tell you a quick story. And the story is called The Preacher's Son. There was a preacher who each Sunday when he went to church, his whole family, his daughter, his wife, and his son would go. They all had to dress just so because they was looked upon as a very prestigious group of people. He was the preacher's wife. He was the preacher's son. He was the preacher's daughter. And he himself was the preacher. So everyone looked upon everything he did was scrutinized. So he had to be exemplary. So the preacher's son, however, they had to dress up when they went to school. They had to carry that same mentality and dress up. But the son was very resentful toward this. He did not want that way of life. He wanted to be like everyone else. Eventually, the son, when he got older, he left home immediately. And he told his dad, I'm tired of being this way. He runs and he dresses like his friends. He was able to wear the pants however they wore them. He was able to get the tattoos he wanted. He was able to get the earrings he wanted. He was able to wear his hair however he wanted and how long he wanted and whatever color he wanted. He was able to do whatever they did. If they wanted to rob a store, that's what they did. In fact, he got into much trouble because his friends, his peers, they're always having fun. He did this. He went the totally opposite of what his dad had taught him because he wanted no part of that anymore. And finally, one day, he came back home. And he came back home, his dad was sitting in the living room. And he walks up to his dad, he walked in, hey, Dad. And his dad said, hi, son. And he looked away. And the son went to walk away, but he came back and he said, I know you're probably disappointed in me because the way I dress now. His dad took a deep breath. He said to his son, no, I'm not disappointed in you because the way you dress. His son looked, he said, I know you're probably disappointed in me because I got arrested with my friends for drinking. His dad looked at him and said, no, I'm not disappointed in you because you got arrested with your friends for drinking. And his son, he said, I know you're probably disappointed in me then because I done grew my hair long and I wear these earrings, right? Ha! His dad said, no, son, I'm not disappointed in you for doing those things. The boy was puzzled. He said, well, I know you're probably disappointed in me because I take drugs now. His dad looks up at him. He said, son, all the things you're mentioning, I'm not disappointed in you for that, even though I don't condone them. So the boy was puzzled. And his dad said, so, I hope you're happy. So the son, at that point, he got really angry. He said, so, Dad, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to be? His dad stops and he looks at his son. He said, son, I want you to be yourself. If you are this way, because that's who you are, I will accept that because that's who you are. If you are doing this despite me, then you are not being who you are. And his dad turns around and he said, whatever you are, son, I will love you. And he walks away. That story is based on a true story. And the reason it's so important to know who we are, because when we leave something that we really disagree with, many times we react the opposite in spite of, not because of. So you have to ask yourself, are you who you are? Because that's what you become. Or are you who you are because of where you come from? Are you who you are despite where you came from? I'll let you think about those. Discover who you are. Number 8, find good, honest, non-opinionated support. You see, typically, this should occur within approximately 1 month, according to experts. And you saying what? Well, when we come out of a traumatic stress, it can cause very strong reaction in some people. I was that way. It may become chronic and ongoing if we not careful. So we should, if we need to, seek professional help after you come out of the organization. That help doesn't always have to be professional. If you know you need it, call someone. If you're depressed, there are many symptoms that the term RTS, religious trauma syndrome. Look that up if you get a chance to, because what it does, it can cause us to be depressed because coming from a high control cult organization, there's a lot of repercussion that comes with it. We may be carrying a bag full of things that we don't know. Research that. Nightmares. I don't have nightmares, but dreams. Constantly going over why you left. Constantly still reading the publication. Constantly not letting go of certain things. So find out what that is, if it's RTS, and whatever the source, trauma leaves its imprint on our brains. Don't underestimate the power of religious trauma syndrome. Don't underestimate the power of high control organization and the mark that they can leave on our mental capacity and on our lives. Number 9, find one new friend and embrace and value them. Find one new friend and embrace that individual and value them. And many people have asked, well, how do I find new friends when I leave the organization? Well, you did that for years, and you got to know those who came in. Do the same with people you work with. You no longer have the whole of the worldly individuals anymore. So now we can go ahead and feel free, talk to the friends. You go to a bar, a sports bar, get to know someone. At work, at play, if you go to the beach, if you go to the lake, if you go fishing. I've met interesting people when I go fishing. We're glad to tell fish stories. Get to know those individuals. Go fishing with them again. As we know, with anyone, we have to be cautious. But it's easy to find new friends if you look it. But you have to get out. You can't sit at home and do that. You have to get out. Number 10, stay away from religion. Stay away from religion or baseless beliefs. I know many people have jumped out of the organization and say, hey, now I found a great religion that's no longer like the organization. Again, they're doing that in spite of the organization because they're trying to replace everything bad from the organization with another controlling beliefs. That's not helping. So you want to take the time again to discover religion, to discover why. I want to read something for you. Let me grab it. This is an article from my book, The Courage to Freedom, who we will talk about one day. One of my upcoming topics is going to be about what's in that book. You hear me talk about it on the videos I've done thus far. Well, I'm going to go into what's in that book. Well, here's some of the things about religion. Note what it says under the subheading, the problem with religion. It says, another problem is when organizations or administration has taken complete control of the religion. Consider also when this system institute people are encouraged by leaders to identify themselves by their organization label over their religion. This frequently happens in baptism. Baptism in religion signifies your membership or association in connection to an organization. And we see that many times. Also, under that same area, it talks about spirituality. What is spirituality? What is the meaning of spirituality? You see, traditionally, spirituality refers to religious process. And many people have applied that. You hear that, don't you? You think spirituality only applies to religious. but haven't you had an experience spiritually? Note some of the points here about of spirituality. It says the meaning of spirituality has developed and expanded over time. The various connotations can be found alongside each other. Traditionally, spirituality referred to religious process or reformation, which aims to recover the original shape of man, oriented at the image of God, or to exemplify by the founder of the sacred text of religion. So it has, if you Google that, you will find that explanation for spirituality. But note what spirituality really is, and it may mean something. It may mean something to you totally different. Spirituality can mean different things to different people. For example, for some, it's about a belief in God, an active participation in organized religion, as stated above. For others, it's about non-religious experience that help them get in touch with their spiritual selves through quiet reflection, time in nature, private prayer, yoga, meditation, and a host of other things. I had to talk about mine, and mine is in my book, but it talks about without question, there are many thoughts as to what spirituality is. But to me, spirituality is not an emotional high or a one-time daily, weekly trip to a meeting, to an organization, to a temple. Spirituality is your life and interpersonal connection or relationship with God. And then recognizing the things around that God made, appreciating those things, appreciating the love that God has showed, His long suffering, appreciating all of the things, gratification, knowing what that is, and there's more, but you're going to have to get the book. I also wrote in the book, why are there so many religions? I dove deep. Yes, I did. I dove deep into religion, and I had to answer this question so I would not get back out there and get into another one. But why are there so many religions? Are there a true religion? I wrote it all. It's in the book. That was extensive research that was done. Not all from my thoughts, but extensive research. And you will find you utilizing the Holy Scriptures as a guide. You will find the truth when you do that. Number 11, our last one. Create one new memory per week. Create one new memory per week. How do you do that? Go places you've never been. Take trips to other nearby cities. That workmate that you get along with so well, ask her, hey, let's go get a drink. Go to a musical. Go to a play. Take time for yourself. Go to a concert. There are nearby cities. There are nearby malls. There are nearby shopping centers you've never been. It doesn't have to be anything great. Go treat yourself. Buy yourself a new outfit just because. So create new memories that you haven't. Here's a good one. Go to school. Many people have been wanting to go to school. They've been wanting to get that additional education. But here's a good question for you. What have you been wanting to do all those years? Remember, we've been wanting to do that. I want to learn to play the guitar. Remember, the society, the Watchtower organization would say, hey, you have plenty of time to do that in the new system. Well, guess what? You have plenty of time to do that now. So take your time, man, and do those things that you want to do. Life is too short to cut ourselves out of happiness. Do you know, as someone said, life is about 10% what happened to us and 90% of how we react to it. If you take yourself out of a happy life, guess what? You're going to be miserable. If you allow someone else to take you on their journey, you're going to be miserable. So do these things that write your own conclusion, what you need to do. But by doing this, I was able to get up and keep fighting. I was able to find myself. Uh, Fortunately, in the organization, I knew who I was. You see, I went to school. I defied some of the teachings. If you find out in my story, I didn't follow all of the Watchtower's teaching. I went to school. I owned several businesses, so I discovered who I was a long time ago. But you have to ask yourself, have you? You see, when we lose our identity to an organization, it means a lot. You're no longer doing things because of that's who you are. You're doing things because of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You're honest because you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You don't go to other religion. You don't go celebrate holidays because you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So your identity is taken away. Find it. Find it. It's important to me and to you, it should be, to take control of your life, because I had to, and you want to do this as quickly as possible. I had to realize, while there was things were traumatic. It was very traumatic when I discovered the truth about what the belief I had dedicated 40 years to. I discovered that you can either go forward or move into a new life that you want. You can do that. Or you can continue down the wrong road. You don't want to make the same mistake again that you made. That in your last relationship, you made those mistakes because you didn't do what you can do now. So you have to think about what went wrong. If you haven't figured it out now, odds are that you will make those same mistakes as before, except this time with another baseless and unfounded belief. Because if you haven't learned that yet, perhaps you haven't done enough work on yourself. And that's what it's all about. So there are things that you can do that are safe, that are self-destructive after a breakup, that makes it hard to recover. And if you don't do what's positive to help you, you will end up right back in a very hard to recover situation. The next video is going to cover, are you truly awake? Are you? Did you know it's easier to get out of the organization than to get the organization out of your head? I'm G. I will talk to you on the other side. Again, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any great videos. Tell those who want to improve. I have so much great information coming up. Hit the subscribe button. I'm just getting started with information that will help you post the organization, post a cult organization. How to get on the right track is coming. Stay with me. Please hit that subscribe button. And if you have comments, drop them in my email. I will talk to you on the other side.